have one more break, right? Then that will be followed by pizzas and all. So grab coffee and come back. Cool. So unlike last two talks, this talk will be very technical. So it might be boring for some people, but please bear with me. So today what we'll be talking about is a developer tool called as Stato. It is a tool developed by Facebook, which helps you to debug your Android apps. So I'm Pranay. I work for Intuit as a software developer. I develop mobile apps, been developing Android apps from 5 years and have a couple of apps in the Play Store. So it's a nice quote by Steve Jobs. So design is not just what it looks like or feels like. Design is how it works. So you might be thinking like, okay, why this guy is talking about Steve Jobs in an Android meetup? Typically, when we talk about design, we talk about iPhones, we talk about material design, but developer tools always comes with a feeling that sucks, right? Developer tools sucks, the design sucks, and it's not fancy to use developer tools. And that perspective will change with this, and we'll see why design is important with developer tools as well. So what is Stato? So basically it's a debug bridge for Android, right? It's a library which helps you to debug your Android apps and comes with certain features like network monitoring and all. So there are tons of other debug tools. So how many of you are Android developers, like who do? Everyone, right? So most of you. So there are a lot of tools. If you go to SDK folder, there is Hierarchy Viewer, there is DDMS, there is Trace View, and tons of those tools. And then there are other dev tools inside Android Studio and all. Stato is another tool, but it gives you certain capabilities which other tools doesn't offer. Plus, it comes on the top of Chrome Developer Tools. So they have integrated with Chrome Developer Tools as a user interface. So it comes with very rich interface compared to other developer tools. So if any one of you have used Chrome Developer Tools for web debugging or Firebug for web debugging, the experience is same. So you love Element tab where you can just go, click on the magnifying glass and then go and click any dev element, any DOM element, and it will give you the source code. Same things are possible. So Stato is giving you the rich capabilities of Chrome Developer Tools for native apps. And that's pretty awesome, and you'll see. So this will be full demo session. So what are some of the features for Stato? So Stato comes with network analyzer. So you can basically analyze all your HTTP request response images. So no more logging, no more you need to put a system.out.println to see how much a network request is taking time, right? Same thing with images. You can use your response request. You can see what response is coming, if it is passed or not, it is correct or not. Export that response into XHR format and stuff like that. It gives you a way to see the SQLite DB. So you don't have to export your DB out of your Android app, pull it out, and then use a SQLite browser or any other tool. You can do it directly while connected to your app. You can issue commands. You can override the data in that. Then it comes with something called as preference viewer, where any app you have a lot of shared preferences. And after an app becomes mature, right, it becomes pain to know what is the current shared preference value. There are ways to check that with ADB. This gives us a graphical interface to see the shared preferences and manipulate it. View hierarchy. Like the element tab, it will give you the complete view hierarchy. So, and we'll see in details. And then there is a command line tool called as dump app. So that can be used to extend the whole framework, and it's an open source tool. So let's see all this one by one. So let's see first how do you enable Stato in your app. So all you need to do is this one line of code. And it's all Gradle based, so if you have not moved from Ant to Gradle, there cannot be a good time to move. You should move, right? Ant sucks. So this is a Gradle dependency. All you need to do is you just say compile Facebook Stato. If you don't want to put it in your production builds, you can just do debug compile, right? And with this, the Stato will be added. All you need to do is then is initialize Stato in your application class, and it will be added to your, and you can start viewing few of the functionalities which we talked about, like the database, the shared preference. Just with these 2 lines, you can see 3 things: the database, the view hierarchy, and the shared preference. For the network thing, we'll see we have to do some more addition calls. So let's see in the code. Everyone can see this, right? So all you need to do is give an initializer object to stetho.initialize. You say enable WebKit inspector. So WebKit inspector is nothing. It will say that, okay, we want to use the Chrome WebKit browser as the graphical interface. Enable dump app. So if you want to use dump app, you can enable that and then say build. That's it. With these 2 lines, Stetho is enabled. Let's see the Gradle file. So this is one of my live apps. So we'll see everything on the live app. So with this line, Stetho is enabled. We'll talk about OKHTTP later. Right? Now, how do you access Stetho? So this is done. All you need to do is say Chrome inspect. If any one of you have debugged a Chrome web view inside 4.4 or above devices, this is the way where you can see the Chrome web view on Chrome Developer Tools and do all the things which you used to do with Chrome. Right? Same thing, all you need to say is Chrome inspect. Let's see. So this is my app, right? It's a price comparison app, like an e-commerce app. So I've enabled Stetho here. I go to Chrome. I just say Chrome inspect. Can you see this? You see here the app appears, powered by Stetho. If you just click on inspect, you see the good old Chrome Developer Tool, and this is your apps view hierarchy, and we'll talk about all these features one by one. So with just 2 lines of code, you have enabled view inspection, you have enabled the database inspection, the shared preference inspection. With 2 more lines, you will be able to do the network inspection as well. All these features comes for free. So let's see other things. So how many of you have ever used hierarchy viewer? And how many of you hate it? Everyone. Hierarchy viewer is such a pain that you cannot, if you have a complicated view, you'll not able to do anything with it. Right? And I'll show you the difference between Stetho's hierarchy viewer and the actual hierarchy viewer which is available. And it's drastic. So what does hierarchy viewer in Stetho gives us? It gives us 4 things. First is your good jump to tab, right? So if you have ever done a Chrome debugging in web views, there is a nice magnifying glass in the console where you click it and then you drag your mouse pointer to any place, it will highlight the div element. Same thing you can do for Android as well. And I'll show you how. So you can just tap on your icon, tap on any UI element, and it will highlight that. It gives you a property pane where you can see all the properties of that view. Then it gives you view highlighting, like when you go over the source code, it will highlight the comparative view on the phone. And it instantiate the fragment instance and keep it in the view hierarchy. So it's not all compile time. So everything is visible. Let's see that in action. So this is the app. This is the debugger. Let's see. Just notice everything, right? So this is my view stub, this lean. So let's use the magnifying glass. You notice the magnifying glass here, right? Click on it. Let me go to this, and it highlights the view here, right? Pretty powerful. Click on the view. This is nothing which I have done. So Fast Etho. Yeah, it's definitely very powerful. So if you notice, if you click on the image view, there is a property tab here. Because it is using Chrome's inspector, there are a lot of options which are not useful for you guys, right? Because it is utilizing the existing thing and not modifying it, anything. So there is an additional tab called as properties. I clicked on image view, I can see all the properties here. What is the view height, what is the background, everything you can imagine. Right? Whether any property, so it is inheriting from view, image view is inheriting from view, so you can see all the properties of view. This helps you to debug your app very fast, right? So if you have multiple views on the top of each other, the hierarchy is very complicated, just come here, and because a lot of people comes from the web background who have experience in debugging web apps, this is very similar. So you see entire DOM like tree structure there, open it and see it inside directly. Let me show you about the fragments which I was talking about, right? So let's go inside this. Come on. Yeah. So these three are in a view pager, right? So there are three fragments which are added in my view. All three are present here. So you can debug all the three. So if you notice here, in my frame layout, this is my view pager. This is all my three fragments, 1, 2, and this 3. Sorry. Yeah. So it adds everything on the screen, whichever you have, and you can see everything here. Unfortunately, there is no way to edit it so far. They might add that feature in future, but I don't think they'll able to do it because it will not reflect in your app, right? So, but still, you are getting a lot of information. Now let's see how. Now let me open the hierarchy viewer. Same view in hierarchy viewer, right? See this. What is this? Like, it does give you a lot of information, but it sucks. You cannot drive anything. It's just bunch of lines on a flow chart which is throwing here and there, and it will take a lot of time to understand hierarchy viewer. It gives you a lot of other capabilities like contrast view and other things, but eventually you will not use it because you don't like it. And you can save at PNG. All those things are okay. Let's talk other features about. So have seen the hierarchy viewer. Now let's see the database inspection, right? So it gives you an option to visualize the DB. So no need to use any additional SQLite browser. No need to pull out the SQLite file from your app and then dump it into a memory card and use ADB to do all the drama. It allows you to edit that as well. And you can issue SQL commands. Let's see that in action again. You see a tab called as source here. Sorry, resource, web SQL. This is your SQLite DB, right? Open. This is my tables, right? And you can see all your tables here, right? So everything which is there. Now you can issue commands. So let's say if I say here, select star from best-selling items, you are able to see all the commands. Then you can modify that, or you can do whatever you want, where ID is greater than 75, right? So whatever you are doing on SQLite browser, everything can be now done directly by connecting this, right? And gives you a lot of beauty which is not there in the existing tools. Share preference editor, so let's see that. So you see here there is an option called as local storage. These are all your preferences, right? So this is my Crashlytics preference, this is my internal app preference. This is my Facebook SDK preferences, and you can edit that. You can edit it here, right? So if you have a lot of shared preferences, like in my case, I just have one, but some of my apps I have 10 to 15 shared preferences, and I want to manipulate those preferences so that I can test certain scenarios. You don't have to do it with code, right? You can just use this, edit it, and debug the app, and it will be live, right? So when you edit it, it will be live editing in the app itself. So now let's jump to the most interesting part of it. So how many of you have ever done a network profiling of your app? Only 2, 3 guys. Very bad, right? So network profiling can be done in multiple ways. A lot of people do it on the server, where they have a server log which says that what is the request and response time I had. But in India, right, you cannot depend. Your server might be fast, might be responding fast. There might be intermediate parties who are delaying the whole response request cycle. You don't know where you want to use CDN, how your CDN is performing for images as well. Why not a lot of people are doing this? Because there is no simple way to do a network inspection, right? Typically what people do is they put a sysout or they put a log statement with timings and then just print out an Excel sheet and then do the network comparison. But all those things are like 1999. There should be a good way, and this is where the power of Stato comes into. So it gives you a lot of capabilities for network inspection, and you are seeing this is actual, and I'll show you, right? So you can intercept all the request and response, inspect it, you can see all the JSONs, you can export those into HARs, and for images also you can preview the images, you can see how much time an image is taking to load. So let's see all those things. So it is not out of the box, so you need to enable it. So what do you need to enable this? So you need to add, so unfortunately for now it works with only 2 of the providers. If your network stack is using OKHTTP or HTTP URL connection. So if you are using any library like Retrofit, Volley, it will work. All you need to do is add an OKHTTP, and I'll show you how to do that. You need to add an OKHTTP layer to use by Volley or Retrofit. If you are using HTTP URL connection, you can use the connector which is available. The HTTP URL connector has some limitations with gzip, but the OKHTTP works out of the box, and we'll be seeing that only. Similarly, for images, if you are using Picasso, Glide or anything, you need to add an OKHTTP dependency to it, right? Because it needs a network layer to intercept, it doesn't work out of the box like other things. You need additional code changes. So add either a Stato HTTP interceptor or HTTP URL interceptor, and you need to do this 2 lines. That's it. If you are already using OKHTTP client for your Volley or a Retrofit, which you should, all you need to do is add just that last line, which you say you are adding a new interceptor, network interceptor on OKHTTP, which is Stato, and that's it. And all your code will work. If you are not doing it already, add an OKHTTP dependency and just add this 2 lines, and it will work. Let's see how. So this is my code, right? So you can see here that I have OKHTTP dependency, right? So OKHTTP is added, and all I need to do is this. That's it. It will add the required OKHTTP things. I come here. This is my Retrofit, so I'm using Retrofit. So I create a client of OKHTTP, and wherever I want, I'll just say this line. Just see this line. I added this one line, client.network-inspector, and then all you need to do in OKHTTP in Retrofit is you add a client in the REST adapter itself. Very simple, 2 lines of code change, and it will add the network inspection in your code. Now, let's see that in action. There's a network tab. This is my app. I just click here. See this. You can see all the requests, headers, response, whatever you have done. You can determine that whether it's giving you a 404, 400 errors, everything. So if you have like 100 calls entire in full app, just run through this one time, take a dump, and then you analyze it later. So you can export this whole thing. Now let's see how you can do it for images, and then we'll explore this more. So for images, what you need to do is, so I'm using Picasso, same thing. Picasso can also use OKHTTP. If you have added a dependency of OKHTTP, Picasso automatically picks it up. But you need to add an additional client because you want to add an additional interceptor. So all you are doing here is you are creating, again, same thing. You are creating a client of OKHTTP, adding a network interceptor, and then setting that client into Picasso. So, right? So if you see here, all you did was you created a new instance of Picasso, added a downloader, which is OKHTTP downloader, and then set the singleton instance, because whenever you call Picasso, it's a singleton. So you say Picasso.get instance and it will return you that instance. So you are overriding that instance to return your Picasso instance, which has an overridden OKHTTP. Got it? So let's see how that works. Same thing, let's clear this. Let's go back. Let me search. So let me search for Nexus 5. Notice this. So one of my requests is failing. I'm able to get the images. Which image is taking how much time? You are able to utilize the same thing which you were doing in web. You are able to see the timelines, how much time each request is taking. You can see that, okay, my one request is taking 2 seconds. Now, if you have an SLA with your service provider, with your API provider saying that, okay, you want it in 1 second, you can use this data to show that. Similarly, with images, you will be able to identify that how much size the image is, right? Whether you want to use a CDN, which CDN is performing better with all these results. So, possibilities are endless. Whatever you want to do with data is endless. But this tool is enabling you to collect that data with ease. So with just 5 to 10 lines of code, so far we have seen, you are able to do this much. Let's see what other features this offers. Come on. Okay, let's see here. So this is how we added in Picasso. So now let's talk about dump app. So dump app is a CLI. It's a command line tool, which is a Python script basically, which gives you a lot of options to customize. So people have written, not people, so Facebook has written 3 plugins for dump app. So the main power of Picasso comes with, apart from all these features, it is extendable. So it is plug and play model. So they have written 3 plugins which works like, they have written one for hprof files, they have written one for preferences and one more. So you can use command line to print all those things. I'll show you how. So it extends features of Stetho beyond the UI because there are limitations of which what you can do. One thing which I wanted was if Stetho can add a feature where it can log all my log statements in the console, that would be good. So I don't have to see the logcat anymore. So if I have opened the Chrome console, it can print all the logs like JavaScript prints all the logs in the console, right? So all those things people will build. This is just a 6 months, I think, or 8 months old tool which is launched, and people are still figuring it out what to do. It allows you to customize it. So so if you go to Stetho's website, this is how you can write your own plugin. Right, so all you need to do is you need to initialize it, and then you can create your own plugin by implementing a dump. So basically, it gives you 2 methods, add, and there is another method which you need to override, which will give you a name. Whatever parameters are passed after that, it will come to you, and you can decide what you want to do. So let's see that in action. So to use this dump app plugin, you need to clone the repo. So because it's a Python script, it is not available right now directly. So I've cloned it already. Right, so is you just say dump app, and it will give you all the options. Right? Now let's say dump app -h, it will give -l, it will give you list of all the plugins which are available. So for now the plugins which are available is Crash, hprof and prifs. So Crash is basically will crash your app. hprof will print all your hprofs. hprof is basically memory profiling. So that option anyways is enabled now in Android Studio, where you can just take a dump of hprof. Earlier it was a pain to go with DDMS and do all those things. So, and then there is a prifs. So we have already seen the prifs. So let's see it again. So with prifs print, basically somebody has written that plugin the way which I have showed you. The name of the plugin is prifs. Now after that it is all command line like your good old Java days, right? And you can do whatever you want with it. So these guys are printing the preferences of your app. Got it? So yeah, that's Stetho. And if it works, yep. That's it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
How does it work with like cloud database like Parse or Firebase?
It will not. No. So it works only with your local databases. Parse and Firebase already have a UI. Yeah. So basically it connects with your phone through phone or this thing through your debug bridge, right? So you need to have an ADB running.
In my app, I have 10 to 15 shared preferences. This Stetho is good, but it has a small drawback. This doesn't show the dynamic changes. So every time I have to go back and refresh.
Yeah.
Is that do you have any workaround for that?
No, I have not. If you use dump app, you will able to.
The reason because when we are debugging, at the same time I have to look at the shared preference as well.
Yeah,
So
that's one of the limitations. I don't think that's there a way to. So far, there I have figured it out.
So by not being dynamic, it means that when you connect here, that's the time
Yes.
the values are.
Yes. So when you click on inspect, that's the time the value is.
And after that, if you change in the app, it will not.
Nothing. You close it and click inspect again. Basically, it takes the snapshot of that time.
And is it same for SQLite also?
Yes, I think so. I am not. Let's try that.
But whatever changes you make are reflected on your phone DB, right?
Yeah, yeah. So let's say history, right? So far I have 3 things, right? So let me add another thing in history. So let's say Nexus 5. Yeah, for this it is real time. Only for shared preference, I think it is not, right? Let's change that and see. There's nothing which I can change for shared preference. I don't have any shared preference to manipulate the app.
And the whole thing, suppose there is a long running background process which is modifying the SQLite. Okay. So if I try to edit something, is it concurrency safe or synchronous?
No idea. But what happens is, if you exit the app, the connection will break.
No, the app is going on. Suppose there is a kind of your thread that is going on in the background
Yeah.
and is writing a huge list on the data.
So whoever wins, I don't think it is safe. It's just an additional perspective of your app.
So it's more for viewing purpose rather than editing.
Yes, definitely. It's for debugging purpose. So that's why it is called as a debug bridge. So it has nothing to do with direct manipulation. This is purely used for debugging apps.
So another quick point here. So you know the interceptors that you add, make sure it's in your debug builds.
Yeah.
So use dependency injection or like just check if
Or you
build
can,
type is debugged.
so I've done that. So what you can do is you can just say build config.debug and it will take care of it.
In one of my other app, I have a shared preference library, which does the shared preference through dependency injection. But it saves the .xml file, shared preference, in the same way how it does the normal API. And when I use that library, this Statho doesn't show any data at all.
If you are storing an XML inside shared preference.
Yeah, the library does the same thing, saving the shared preference the normal way how the normal shared preference API
Sharing
does.
it as a shared preference or you're writing it as your own file object?
Yeah, how the normal Android shared preference API does, the same way the library also do. But this Statho doesn't extract the shared preference data at that time.
Could
So
be.
It
So-
works only for the native API.
Yes, so that's why they have that dump app where you can write that plugin and it will able to dump. So basically it will give you the control, you take care of your library call, and the reason why they have not, I think they are not supporting it because there are tons of libraries. How many will they support, right? So they are doing it only with the,
The library also saves the shared preference in the same location.
could
How
be.
they are, yeah.
You should file a bug.
Yeah, okay.
Facebook is?
How is Facebook adopting to optimize their? No idea.
Like so all these tools will be used by Facebook internally, we don't know, and that's how it got open source. Like they might have faced a problem if they were solving it through these tools, and then they thought, okay, if it is helping us, it will help others, and that's how they open sourced it. So if you see, right, I have seen the actual use cases of network interceptor where we were able to determine that, okay, which request is taking time or which is giving us a 404. You can do all those things through logs as well, but logs are difficult to go through, right? Here you can see that, okay, 404, you can see the request itself, right? Request, there is a parameter which is wrong, correct it and then do it again.
What about services? Even services can be debugged with this?
Now,
No,
nothing.
so just activities
Just-
that are running.
so it is using the same thing which hierarchy viewer is using,
Okay.
presenting it in pretty good format.
Okay.
That's it. Memory footprint of the library. For debugging purpose, nobody cares, but I haven't seen.
It's not running, then that's all.
So one problem which
freeze
I've
my studio
yes.
or-
So one problem which I've seen while adding Statho in one of our projects was it is bypassing the text limit, because I had like tons of other libraries added, but there is no getaway with that. So I use debug compile, but still it will bypass that limit. So you need to then enable multi-dex, but then you can do it only for debugging and then move it away.
When you say that it cannot monitor the background services, can it also not monitor the network calls that background services?
No. If your network calls, so if you have noticed why we made the code change, right? It is not it cannot monitor the system level. So it is monitoring OKHTTP because OKHTTP provides the interceptor. So any request which is going through OKHTTP, it will be tagged, whether it's from service or whether it's from activity or from whatever. The request and response, not the service. So that's the difference. And another thing is it can monitor only attached services, like which is attached to the activity and running while the app is running. The moment you go out of the app, it will disconnect the ADB. So you will not see the inspector altogether. So no background jobs.
Any other questions?
So before going to live, we should disable that stature, right?
Yes, so that's why you use debug compile, so it will not go into your production code. But make sure you test it.
If any bad, like if it goes to that lab production.
Everybody can see your network request and response. That I can anyways do with Charles. So it is just a heavy
How
thing.
they can see? They can directly connect it to a, like the way we have connected. They
So you can
see
use
that
a reverse proxy to see anything on
Sorry,
Earth.
sir? User proxy.
Reverse proxy. Proxy service. Basically, you have a proxy which is sitting between your app and internet.
Correct.
So every request and response is going from this proxy. So you can filter everything there.
Okay.
There are two things which are available. One is called as Charles, which is for Mac. Another is called as Fiedler, which is for Windows, Mac both. And you can break HTTPS everything.
That's fine. So if my application uses some kind of socket communication other than HTTP,
It will not detect.
proxy will not.
Proxy will detect. This guy will not detect. Proxy will detect everything which is over, which is bypassing with, which is passing through proxy.
Fine, fine. Thank you. Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
Stetho does works only with OKHTTP and retrofit. Is that true? Like
So it works with HTTP URL connection. I have not shown you, but
so
it
how
works with
about
Volley
this,
also.
LoopJ, async HTTP libraries, like
Anything
even
which
they are good at the market. Like even that's open source.
So basically, this guy worked with OKHTTP. Anything which can be integrated with OKHTTP, be it LoopJ, be it, I don't know about LoopJ, but be it Volley can integrate OKHTTP, Retrofit can integrate. If any other library who can use OKHTTP as their network stack, this can intercept that.
Oh, sure. And regarding that image downloading using Picasso, so how about using other libraries?
Yes,
like-
so I've tried with Glide and Picasso. Again, same concept. It is not doing anything. It is banking on the top of OKHTTP. So if you can add OKHTTP as a HTTP library dependency to any library like Universal Image Loader, Picasso, Glide, it will work. So I've tried with Glide and Picasso, working fine.
Okay, so that works with the Volley image loading library.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Volley, if you add a OKHTTP, the network image loader will also use that. So it will work out of the box. Cool. So the idea is that you go and use these tools, right? And even if you are not tech, ask your team members to use this, because until you use it, you will not able to add it. So I have used it few times, right? Until you use it frequently, you will not able to utilize the whole features of the library, right? And they might be adding more features because it's from Facebook. They have resources and it's open source. So if you are passionate, if you want to write plugin about that library, go ahead and write it, right? And very powerful. So thanks.
Thanks, Pranay. Yeah. So we'll have a networking session right now. There are also pizzas behind, sponsored by Yahoo, of course. We'd also like to thank Yahoo and Flurry for the location and the great talk that you gave. And we'd like to also thank the other two speakers. They're our friends itself, actually. That's Abhishek Nandi and this is Pranay. Thank you both. And as usual, in almost all our sessions, if you guys have any feedback or pointers to us, you can mention them now or drop us an email or let us know on Twitter, Facebook groups, etc.
And since you guys attended this event, for the next event, the invitation code will be BLR Droid Sept, right? So you have filled the forms. So you have seen a field called as invitation code. So that field is done for people who are repeating and give them preference for events, right? So the code will be BLR Droid SEP, September, because this is September meetup. Feel free to fill that for the next event. Next event will be happening on 17th of October. We have people from CouchDB who are visiting from Mountain View. So it will be a hands-on session, mostly only focused for techies, so not for hiring or any other things. But they will be talking about how you can use NoSQL database on mobile. So you have seen SQLite. There are two open source, not open source, but there are two solutions for NoSQL as of now, which is one is CouchDB and second is Realm. So they'll be talking about CouchDB and they're from CouchDB. So it will be a great session. So if you want to attend, we'll send out the notifications, I think next week, and feel free to. And yeah, and there will be a second session hands-on on RxJava. So RxJava is another new thing in the market which is becoming very, very powerful. So we'll have an hands-on session. So unlike this session where you're not coding, you're just listening, those sessions will be all hands-on. So you can send your dev team or your whoever you want, or you can come by. So use code BLR Droid SEPT. SEP. SEP. SEP, you can, SEPT, SEP is fine. It's RX Java. RX Java and CouchDB. Right? And feel free to talk with each other. There are a lot of people who are looking to hire, looking for hiring. We need to vacate